Okay. Hey, so today I have a green shirt on, which is funny because I have a green screen back there. So there's some funniness happening. Um, didn't even think about it, but that's a fun thing to do. Oh man, got a little spam one. I don't know how do I delete these? Yeah, first one. First one. What's up? Hey, Benzer. Hey, nice stream today, by the way. It was fun to be a part of that. Yeah, you want to link that actually? Do you mind linking Stephanie Eccles' channel so people can check out that stream if they want to see it? Yeah, I got my first bot. I don't know how to I don't know how to deal with it. I mean, fortunately, it's not terrible, I guess, but um yeah. Anyway, yeah, so Ben and Stephanie Eccles just did a stream on 11D stuff, cleverly the 11th hour. I think is a segment that they're doing or they did today on Stephanie Eccles' stream. It was very fun. Talked about a lot of great stuff. 11T serverless was one of them, some accessibility stuff. Did you hear I said accessibility correctly instead of accessibility? So anyway, yeah. So today, what am I doing today? Well, first of all, I found a way to kind of full screen everything using the Mac, full screener. So even without having like built up a proper overlay and whatnot, I can have Ben's really cool chat thing in here without all the extra Chrome. So that's pretty awesome. And yes, it is a snazzy chat. If you are a Twitch streamer, you're here, go to showmy.chat and just plug in your information. You're good to go. Okay, so full screener is the official term for it. Okay, so what I want to work on today, and I thought I would just kind of stream this, because yesterday I was doing some talk prep and it was super awesome. It was great. Got a ton of really good feedback on the direction that we should, the talk should take overall. Um, but well, no, but today I want to kind of build up the part of it that is kind of the code narrative side of things. And also I need to get a sense of like how long I should account for this demo. So I'll probably give it live. Um, it will be recorded, and so it's not live, but I will actually work through all of the processes. Now, so something that I really like, and I borrow this pretty heavily from Sandy Metz talks that I've seen of hers, is building a talk from the way that code typically gets created. And that's this kind of, request from the outside. And then you have to figure out how to like kind of make that code work. And I find these narratives like particularly relatable. I could tell you a story about my code or whatever, but if we go through this together, then you're kind of in it with me. You kind of, feel some of those tensions of, like between this team and the other team. Um, and yeah, so a talk where she does this really exceptionally is, what's it called? Oh gosh, it's at like Bath Ruby, and it's called Something is Nothing. No, Nothing is Something. Nothing is Something. Yeah, that's right. I always get those flipped up. Um, Fantastic talk, exceptional talk. I mean, even if you like don't want to learn about kind of talking from it, it's an exceptional talk on kind of how to program, particularly object-oriented programming. Really great stuff. So, um, interesting. I gotta clip that alert. I'm gonna tap it just because. Okay, I guess it clips the last 30 seconds, maybe. Um, okay, cool. So yeah, so I have really enjoyed that because I feel like as an audience member, I'm really carried along with the narrative because I felt that tension of like I have this code and I'm responsible for like doing this, that, and the other thing, and so whatever. You get the idea. So that is what we're going to be working on today. I love code narratives. This is kind of the way that I like to teach as well. Thank you for the link on that, Travis. I say one of the hardest things for me is seeing a name that isn't the name of the person and then like trying to use my like mental dictionary to like find that person's name. Like I know who you are, but like like I have a faulty dictionary and I hate that. That's one thing I hate about this brain thing right here. Yeah, RailsConf 2015. That is I actually got to see that one live. It was exceptional. So the first thing that we will do is I know from this and from previous experiences, one of the first things I want to do is, um, so first of all, we're going to be using the example of the hello message component. Now, I know from previous times teaching this kind of stuff, it is good to have that cognitive separation of that thing living in a file. I think we'll actually get to experience a lot of the pain that I see in apps a lot of times by putting things in different files that we wouldn't if they were in the same file. So I'm going to do that even though it's like a really trivial app. So let's do that. Let's see. Let's call this hello message dot j. I don't know if it supports the JSX extension. Okay, so this will be function hello message. Also, when I give this talk, I'd prefer to use hooks as opposed to the example instead of doing it inline. Because that, as we noticed yesterday, it wasn't a super great experience because it didn't support a lot of modern syntax and it wasn't using hooks. So I think we can achieve the same example by doing this. Sorry if you hear my kids in the background, they're playing Minecraft. It was div, and it was hello props.name. Anthony, thanks for being here in any capacity. I love seeing you. We're just kind of playing along, so I'll do my best to use words. Jacob, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Happy to see you here. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so this is it for all intents and purposes. I think this is the component written with hooks that we see on reactjs.org. Oh, it's not going to let me tab. I'm full screened. That's fine. You know what it looks like. We saw it yesterday. Everyone's seen this before. So I will need to export this. Export. I guess we'll just do default. Export default, import star as React from React, do that. I don't know if we actually need that anymore. Let me comment that out. This is all just setup, import app. Nope, we need to be in the app. There we go. We will import hello message from hello message and do we did Taylor. Was that right? Okay, cool. Perfect. Can I bump that up without not without bumping up everything? Okay, cool. Well that's fine. You know what it says. Okay, so we have everything set up. And I want to think about this in terms of what the steps are that we're going to take. What is up, Martin? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. So the steps that we're going to take. So this is the first step, and let's see. Usually, what I'll do in this case is I will put a bunch of. I'll just kind of keep adding returns, and then with a comment above it saying, what it does. So this is like the original starting point, or kind of. Whoop, oh my gosh, if I can type. So this is the starting point component, the original Fender, original sin. Okay. Okay, Ben, my use case for over abstraction lately has been lists of links. People so desperately want to iterate over an array of link. Oh shoot, I lost my place when I switched screens. Of link config objects. I think it makes a lot of sense when you have a lot of links, but that need to, oh, I can't read it on that screen. When you have a lot of links that need to be handled uniformly, but the moment you start to need to apply anything unique to any of those links, maybe a class, target underscore blank, or even conditional rendering, the abstraction starts getting far more complex than just using the AJ. Yeah, it's so funny. Like, and I think that this is kind of that spirit is kind of part of the spirit of this talk, which is like we keep trying to throw technology at things when really, like, we could have just iterated over the list in a UL and had control over everything and you see everything instead of trying to use some abstraction that has like these funky one-off APIs that you have to know in order to do exactly the same thing. So yeah, I think we'll be addressing that as we move through these examples a little bit. Um, let's see. Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, so we have our first example. This is kind of like, the stage. This is the 0 point on this. Um, and one of the first examples that we teased out yesterday was the example of it not being extensible from the outside. And this is really important. I think I didn't even realize before yesterday, like kind of how offensive this component is in that regard, in that I should be able to put punctuation after this. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to do that. And the fact that it puts it on, it might be kind of small for you to see. The fact that it puts it on another line is like unforgivably bad. So this is absolutely terrible. I hate this. So the first example is like um can't extend from the outside. Um and this is like, and so in this case it's like I can't even go about solving my own problem while using this component, which is extremely, oh wait, shoot, I am in hello message. That's not what I need. I want to be, oops. I want to be over here. At least for now. And we want to use it like this. Hello message name. Sorry for the repeat. Doop 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 doop. Interesting. I should be able to. Doing some kind of syntactic nonsense here that it is not appreciating. What did I do? Oh, I know what I did. Oh, there we go. Whew. Okay, that was a minute. Thank you. So yeah, so we have this. Now I would love to. Oh, it's still pissed. What did I do? Expected token. Okay, just okay. Going. Oh my gosh. I swear when you're like looking at this and like trying to read stuff and like whatever, it's like just real bad. Okay, so now I should be able to like just have the freedom to solve my own problem in the way that I want to, like at other parts of my application. I've been given this component, it does this thing, I should be able to just put a damn period after it, right? But I can't, because inside is a div. And so there's a handful of problems with this, right? Like, so one, I can't solve my problem without consulting someone else, right? So that means that like the card that I'm working on gets slowed down because of this bad API. I also have no visibility into why this is a problem until I inspect it. Um, So I can inspect this with the Chrome inspector and see, oh, this is a div. And so when I put something else in there, it puts it on a new line. Or I have to go into the code and see, okay, this is a div, and that's why it's doing that thing. So this is like kind of problems all over the place. I can't use this component. And so like I'm forced to ask myself now, do I do this? Do I re-implement this on my own, or do I actually change the component? Now let's, for the sake of, you know, kind of the talk and the narrative, the direction that we're going, we're going to say that we're going to change the component, okay? Because just opting out really isn't helpful for the story, I guess. Okay, so let's see. So the comments. Okay, so Travis, yeah, we're gonna add that prop. Um, okay, cool. Could override the display with CSS, but that's clunky. Of course, yeah. Use Houdini. It's so funny. I do like all of these because they are they are you know, absolutely like approaches that we would do. And Houdini, that's cracking me up because that is absolutely like just like take it to the moon, right? Like whatever's the most just wildest next step, let's do that. So in the case of our component and kind of demonstrating why this is a bad component, I'm going to kind of like lead us into a direction of saying that like part of the problem is that we've used props, and like props beget props. So this is the second part of the problem, is that now that we were thinking about this, content after, oh my gosh, oh, whew, that'd be a pretty impressive way of doing this. Okay, so props beget props. If we're trying to solve this from a React perspective, we will, you know, naturally think, okay, so we have a prop for name, so it would make sense to add a prop for punctuation. Now, I think it's really interesting, Travis, that you'd mentioned punctuation after text, because you know, I feel like, you know, that example demonstrates that you have some scars on here, and you know that if I just put in punctuation here, well, that's going to be a problem, because what punctuation? We could have other punctuation throughout the app. I kind of like having that as a problem to solve later. Um, because it might introduce some more questions. I have a like mild roadmap in my head about where I want to go, but I like the idea of just going with the general name because that's what I see a lot, and this also causes problems. So props get props. We what's the problem here is that now we're So the problem here is that we're just kind of like adding more APIs, and we're like, you know, and so we're just following convention at this point. You know, there's already a prop, so why don't we just add more props? And this is kind of I feel like a perfectly reasonable way to think about extending something, because these things are not like, very rarely do we reevaluate the whole application or this whole component all at once, because the thing that we're concerning ourselves with is like, if I add this punctuation prop, do I have to update all of the consumers? And I want to do this in the most minimal possible way that I can. And so one of the values of using this punctuation prop is that I can introduce this change in a localized way, by providing a default. So I can not have to change anything about my component the way that it is. So let's see. So this is, actually, I'm going to do this. This I'm going to copy out. And so this is tied to 0 and 1. Unfortunately, with these exports, if I'm going to export it default, I guess I could maybe try something a little bit later, but whatever, this works. So the second iteration of this is going to be Props. Actually, I'm not even going to take props. I'm just going to take the props that we know about. So name and what's the new one we're taking? Punctuation. Now, punctuation, we can default it to what we had previously. So we can introduce effectively no change here, which in a real application, that's a pretty high concern. If you introduce a breaking change to a component, it's like now it's your job to fix it. And so I want to solve this as minimally as possible. So we can hit that. I wonder if I can, yeah, I can have a second window for that. So we want to solve this as minimally as possible. So we default our punctuation to nothing, and then we can have the punctuation, and then we override it here. But then if we provide nothing for this prop, that's fine. We get the default. Okay, great. So don't have to update the entire product/product suite. Okay, I'm gonna catch up on comments real quick. Props we get products. Props is good. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have that written down in my notebook over here. Is that from Genesis? Could be, could be. It does sound like one of those genealogy records, right? Like so and so beget so and so beget so and so beget so and so, original sin and whatnot. Start building a completely exaggerated solution, and when you see jaws drop and say, yes, exactly. So this is the this is the hope is that we're gonna take this very benign component that everybody's seen and just make it absolutely obscene, but by perfectly reasonable means, right? Like, punctuation is totally reasonable, and we can't do it here, because this stupid div situation. Let's see. Houdini, yeah, that would be a really fun stream. Okay, cool. This is about Houdini. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so what's the next step? So we have punctuation. That's great. It feels to me like the next step is going to be this hello. Hey, or actually, what is this? This is hey. So I'm trying to think of like what a good example of this is. Like I'm thinking, um, like you know, like we need more fun greetings. Um, Conversely, it could be like internationalization. Um, Adding an internationalization feature could be kind of interesting. But either way, what we want to do is we want to basically like this is encapsulated now, and we want to have some reasonable context in which someone is asking us to make it configurable. And so again, we would probably do that through props. Um, Greet prefix. Yes, yeah. I was thinking something like, so this is what we did yesterday was a salutation. But yeah, I think let's put some options in here. Options. So we have salutation, greet, prefix, um, message. Because this component is hello message, maybe this is message prefix, um, etc. And then in this case, we're just gonna be like, hey, also we have like maybe the grammar police, and so we're gonna say like, yeah, in the previous case, we didn't want to put the punctuation in the name because it's not really part of the name, but in this case, like we're fine with putting the punctuation inside of it because this is like the salutation or the, actually like message prefix does seem kind of um, nice in this case because it kind of allows cognitively for the the punctuation being inside of it. So let's do that. Yeah, Ben, I agree. I kind of like this internationalization case. I think it could play in me thinking through kind of like some of the later examples that I want to build this to. It could play into if I kind of build up a narrative of an internationalization team, right? And so maybe their first effort is they're just making it so that it can, statically say, you know, how do you spell that? Welcome in or whatever, like hello in a different language or a greeting in a different language. But then later on, we could probably use that as a bridge to like them wanting to control the whole sentence, right? Because maybe the punctuation is different from language to language. I mean, it'll absolutely be different from language to language. So I do think that the internationalization case would probably win out because we're introducing this concept of that team, and they're going to keep coming back with a couple requests for this component, which I kind of like. Um, Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, so like Thai, as Travis says, Thai has neither punctuation nor spaces. So yeah, so I think that this is good. In which case, I'm trying to think which would win out. I kind of like in the internationalization case. I agree that salutation feels um, probably more integrated. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so for step three, we're also going to do the same thing. We're going to again kind of reinforce the notion that part of this is we want to make sure this component does not break existing implementations of or uses of the component, and so we're going to provide defaults. So we're going to raise up this salutation um, with a default of hey, right? Um, Move that in, rotation like this. It's interesting that's on another line. I wonder why that happened. I need to remove that. Oh, interesting. Okay. So yeah, so this is how we have everything right now. I think yeah, I think that's fine. Did I spell that right? Can someone how am I actually supposed to spell this? It'd be nice to have an example that's actually correct. Um, Oh, interesting. Yeah. So there's a so Ben says a chaos case of multiple users. Um, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Oof. Okay. Thank you, Ben. Um, there we go. Oh, okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So that's three. Oh, shoot. You know what? I added this. Dang it. Dang it. Dang it. I added this to my three. This is kind of the problem of keeping them in separate files. Again, this is going to be a benefit long term in terms of the examples, but in terms of creating these examples, it is quite a cluster. So I need to change this one back to hey and move that prop. That reminds me of interesting. That shouldn't work without a comma. I must have just accidentally deleted it. Reminds me of oh, did I not get two L's in there? Thanks. It reminds me of we just watched Into the Spider Verse this week. It was playing at a theater here for $1, which was awesome. So we went in the middle of the afternoon and saw that, and it was so awesome to see that in the theater again. Like I've seen it, a lot of times at home, but to see it in the theater again, I mean, just things like really popped that I hadn't seen in a while. So, but this hey is reminding me of the shoulder touch. Hey, hey. Oh, so good, so good. Um, oh yeah, I've seen it probably like I mean at least 10 times now. I love it. It might be my favorite movie. Yeah, I mean it's definitely up there. Um, okay, cool. So we got this one. So 3 is showing us that we want to spare a howdy for an old friend. Yeah, we don't need to welcome in there. We can do a howdy. Howdy. Shout this one out to Ben. Um, okay, so we have this one now. So we have this one now. And I'm trying to think like what the next step is going to be. I'm going to consult my notes here for a second. Um, oh, okay. This is probably a fairly obvious one. So we'll probably, we'll throw a case in here where someone wants to use class name in some one-off example. So in this case, and this is a perfectly reasonable case. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time kind of extrapolating it, but like someone needs to solve their problem by just applying regular ass DOM nodes. So like a class name, an ID, some type of ARIA label, maybe, I don't know. But basically we need to kind of like make that possible. So obviously that is, has a, fairly straightforward solution. Oops. 15, and we'll go. So kind of our mapping to 4 is just going to be to take the rest props and spread those out. Now, one of the things that I find interesting about this is that it also creates a problem, like it invests in a problem that we'll have to solve long term, which is the kind of the merging of elements, right? So if I put class name here and I spread out all of the rest of the props, well, any class name that I put on here is going to be overridden by the props. Conversely, if I put this on the other side, then it is going to overwrite anything that was provided by props. And if I want to merge those values, well, then I have to do some nonsense to do that. And, we've seen a lot of that nonsense before. But in this case, I'm just going to say we're going to go for the simple case here. Oh, I'm missing a dot there. Okay. Simple case here, and we're adding a class name, and then I'm going to open up an inspector just to validate that the code works. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that example. Why are you not tracking? Okay. Yep. Someone. Okay. Cool. So it does work. We're fine on that front. Okay. Let's see. Like going to the bathroom in the middle of algebra. Okay. Oh yeah. As prop. Oh yeah. We're getting there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. This is fun. It's like I like y'all because you know the future. You know where we're headed. Okay. So we have rest props. And so that gives that basically gives other people a lot of control. Now the problem with this is that it expands. Now okay, so I'm going to write these down. So gives others lots of control to solve their own problems. However, it also increases the surface area of concerns for us by a great margin. And I think we'll see that kind of played out as we build up the next couple examples. So increases. So kind of like we saw, like, well, how we'll inevitably have to start merging class names and whatnot. Well, there's also going to be some inevitable conflicts depending on how people decide to augment these components. Because now, because we're kind of like showing our belly a little bit, now everything that uses the component is going to start like putting its opinions on top of it. And now these are additional use cases that we have to consider. Up to this point, like kind of providing a couple defaults has been super easy, but it's only going to get harder the more that we allow other people to do. So, uh, let's see. Okay, so that's wait, I said 3, but that's 4. So that's kind of like the fourth feature set. We need to add elements. Let's say someone wants to add a class. Class selector. I've been trying to be more deliberate about these, being a class selector. It's not really a class, it's a class selector. Okay, so, okay, 5. What's 5 gonna be? Is that gonna be an as prop? Is that what? I always have to say as prop very carefully. Okay, so let's see. I have a couple of notes here. What's another thing? Perfect. I think I'm in line with you, Martin. I think we're headed down a as prop lane. Um, I think we're gonna start to see how challenging this gets pretty quickly. So developer and let's see. Now, I'm trying to think of a use case for this, and a use case for this again that is embodied by some kind of team, because I think that is going to help the narrative a little bit. If we're or a team or an effort, right? Like, so if we have an internationalization effort, it kind of feels like there's some like corporate pressure like on this component. I think that something like this, like an as prop, really the motivation here could be like we want to improve the semantics of the product. So we want to improve the semantics, and right now we're using a div, and it's kind of weird to just have this extra div for absolutely no reason. So the reason is going to be to improve semantics. Maybe this is kind of the results of some audit. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Audit. I Another reason that could work is styling. Having extra divs is always kind of a pain in the ass for styling. I feel like I do like the notion of having multiple teams being interested, right? Because you have development, you have design, you have maybe a team that's handling internationalization, a team that's handling accessibility and semantics, and so like this is like 4 people who are like converging in the same space, or 4 independent interests, and I like that because it like is true. And so yeah, so this could be fun. Did someone say semantics? The bat light for Ben D. Myers here. Reminding me of a Christmas tree. Decorating videos my wife watches. They had so many picks and branches, augmentations that you can't see the original tree. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Um, yeah, style components. Yes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Okay, so we're gonna add the as prop here. We're gonna take this, what we have here, and we're gonna say as. So this is number 5. So yeah, I really like this one. Um, semanticus, semantics. I should definitely be spelling that word right every time at this point. Um, okay, semantics. I like this one. Okay, so we'll probably go on that route. So the as prop, we're going to, I don't know what we should do. Let's put this as, I mean, Ben, help me out here. What would be like a good, like reasonable one? Like, should it be like, Should we just do strong? Should we just do something like that? I don't want to necessarily go down this route, even though someone like I don't feel like that's probably right. So maybe strong, unless there's a better one. Strong, yeah, let's go with strong. Okay, because it'll demonstrate a change, that we can visually see, but isn't going to be sending someone down giving someone the wrong idea of markup. What about H1? So yeah, so that's kind of the concern that I have is if we put an H1 in there, then there are all these kind of like subtle nods that you see in like content like this to doing doing something. And I've done that. I'm very guilty of this. So like I'm not saying someone else. I'm saying me. I've done this. Saying an H1, but like H1 H1 through 6, these elements are like super they depend very much on like the document structure at play. And so like sometimes it can be very easy to like see that and kind of like be over simplistic about like, oh, H1 makes it bigger. And so you kind of like nod or reinforce this notion of like, oh, we're just using H1 to style it. And that is something I don't really want to touch per se. Strong, at least semantically, is saying like this is strong text. So it is kind of a semantic element. So I think that if we're using the notion of improving our semantics, probably the best one to go with is something like strong and not an H1. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of where I'm feeling. Ben says he's here for it. So, or Ben says they're here for it. So that's where I'm going for. I live for Ben's approval right now. Okay. I got 4. Okay, so now we're gonna be on 5. I gotta tell you, Ben has helped me understand so many accessibility things. Like I'm just having so much fun learning all of these things. I'm always hitting them up, being like, "Hey, what about this?" And just learning so much more than I could learn in like hours of hunting on my own. So number 5, let's take the as prop. So we're going to take the lowercase as, so we can keep consistency with all of these. But then also we want to kind of transform that to locally be used as an uppercase as, so that we can basically trick JSX into rendering this as a component. And then the default is going to be our previous default of div. Okay, so now we just need to update the component to use both of those. Gotta comment this out. Apparently there's some type of syntactic problem there. Oh yeah, I'm exporting default twice. All right, cool. Howdy, Ben. I'm gonna call this one out to Martin. What kind of salutation you like, Martin? Let's get some hype going. I'm gonna leave this open. You tell me what. You tell me what. Got lol in there right now. I see lol's the last message I have from you, so that's what I have right now. But you tell me what, and we'll fix it. Okay, so we have this. Oh, what is? Oh yeah, it's a selection. Hola. Oh yeah, heck yeah, that's good. Hola, I like it. I like it. Oof, yeah. The H1 through H6, I think it's something that so few people understand, and I think part of the reason is because it requires a whole concept of the document, and like who owns that, right? Like managers don't care, right? Like in terms of the whole page. Usually developers is like you're working from a card, right? Like rarely do you actually work from the perspective of like a whole document, except for when you're first creating it. And so yeah, it's like who owns it, right? I guess designers, but like I mean, if there's anything that we've learned about React components, it makes it only harder for designers to kind of like restructure these things in the way that they need. So yeah, it sucks, and I'm sorry. Okay, internationalization. Yep, I think that's coming up. I think that is coming up. I feel it in my bones. Let's. Okay, I have a couple notes. I want to make sure that we get to some of these other things first. So we got to the as prop, no problem. Okay. Now this is kind of like something that I had in my notes was this idea of at this point. So so far we've been able to do anything without a breaking change, right? And I guess at this point we still haven't created a breaking change. We haven't because, you know, if someone uses a strong, they didn't necessarily lose. They're in a moment where they can start controlling these things by themselves. However, the next question that I would naturally feel inclined to like be asked of me is like, okay, well, I have this thing and um it was providing me inline block. And so my layout, I have layouts now that are expecting it to be inline block. No, sorry, inline block. Uh, oh my god, display block. Holy crap! Why did it take me? This thing's going for sure. Um, so I had it. It was providing me, display block, and now some of my style expectations are changing. And so like kind of how do I get the kind of default styling that was provided to me, as a as something that I can utilize. Um, okay, so um, so this is going to be from the design department. My layouts are breaking. I want access to everything before. Now this is probably we might not end up going with this, but because it is a little obtuse for this specific example. However, I don't think it's unreasonable for a bigger example, like something that you would actually see in an application. Rarely do we see, this is kind of a stand-in for like what you would see in an application. But rarely do you see something this kind of like banal in an application. Um, so yeah, but I do want to think about like kind of like how we can merge these things. And I'm thinking for right now, I want to try to, and again, this might be a little bit misleading, but the whole thing is really illustrative. It's not really supposed to be like real. It's supposed to illustrate like kind of like the extremes of a thing. So I think in this case, because I have a goal of trying to only add or to be additive every time, I think I'm going to try to use a style tag here. Um, oh, we're definitely going to get to children for sure. I think that might be like the fruition. Like I'm playing this out. If we go the internationalization route, I kind of feel like maybe the fruition, like where we bring, hey, Nikki T online. Good to see you. I like that emote. That's funny. Um, I'm new to Twitch, so I'm not too familiar with all of the emotes. I'm sure that there's like a story there. Um, so yeah, so the question that I have then is, so if we use style, we add style to do to play with that. Um, yeah. Oh, sorry. We were talking about internationalization. So like, let's say we have this hypothetical internationalization, team that's working up stuff. It seems like later on they could probably come back in and be like, hey, we need to control the whole message, and then that would be a good opportunity for us to kind of do children optionally. So like, if we have children do the internationalized message, but then if we don't, use all of the other props and kind of show what shit show that ends up being. So okay, cool. So style. So we're actually not going to. Okay, so let's play this out. So 5, um, okay, so the first, I'm kind of seeing a back and forth here, right? Uh, so let's see, let's call this like 5.1, is we just do inline styles on the component. So style equals display block. Okay, so let's do that. So that's not going to infect this side so much, but now we have an example here. So we're going to say, we need it after props, and this will be part of the problem that we introduce, right? Style is display block. Okay, and we're going to do it after props because that's how we're going to do it. The first time. So that's great. Except now we have this problem. So like that introduces a problem, right? Because in order to do it this way, where we ensured that it was on there in different two styles, now folks need a way to merge their own styles in there. Okay, cool. So like, let's say we do style color pink. Okay, so that doesn't work, right? Because we're fully overriding it here. So we need a way to kind of like merge in the other styles. So we're gonna take style and then spread that out afterwards. But then we gotta take style. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And then there we go. So actually, I don't like that. Can't see it. That's much better. Okay, so we're getting all of the things that we had before, right? But what if, we have, so now we've introduced another problem, right? Like, so what if we have, so now there's another part of the team who, some designers probably, who were overriding, they were doing display inline, but they were doing it via class. And now we have another problem because now we have a precedence problem, right? So, inline style overrides class. Hello, Haguna. Welcome. Let's see. So yeah, so that overrides class, right? And so that's not great. So now we actually, in trying to fix all of this mess that we created, we are breaking down anything that was styling, via a class and happens to be styling this attribute, which is the one that we're trying to, the style that we're trying to preserve, right? Now, obviously, you're like, this is, probably absurd. We probably have a class that the utility class is just like display block. But like, again, this is an illustrative example of the fact that every solution is going to have related consequences. And some of those are unintended and some of those are unpredictable. So basically, this is the point at which this component kind of starts to snowball, right? So inline style overrides class. So how do we do this? Well, how do we fix this? Well, I think probably in the spirit of the examples that we've been building, the first line of defense is probably a no style prop. Just add more props, right? So what does that look like? Hey, was it real Zellion? Real Zellion? Is that how I pronounce that? Good to see you. I just did a first web design on Figma. Mind going through it and give me some pointers. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about Figma. Yeah, I wish I could, but if anybody else in here is familiar with Figma, go ahead and do this. Yes, Propalooza, yeah, or as Jen Creighton likes to say, the Propcalypse. Yeah, so Nikki, the kind of what we're doing is we're building up an example here of kind of how a component as benign as hello message can over time develop reasonably a large amount of prop cruft, and why this is bad. So we're kind of building up kind of like a really obscene and almost absurd example of like how all this stuff happens. Yeah, Martin knows a lot about Figma, so I think y'all should connect. Okay, cool. So we have let's see, and actually, events.lunch.dev/discord. I'm gonna pop in a link to Discord. In chat. And I apologize if I just don't know your screen name and you're already in Discord. But if yeah, just join the Lunch Dev Discord. We hang out and do stuff all the time there. Pretty great. So where are we at in terms of kind of the obscenity and absurdity of this component? Okay, so let's start with a no style, and we'll set this to false. Okay, so we're gonna set no style to false. What message am I getting? Oh, equals. Using the wrong syntax there. Okay, and so then what are we gonna do here? This is gonna get kind of nutty, but like if we, so I feel like we need to put this in like this, and we need to spread out that object, but only if, how do we do this? So no style, null, otherwise that is such a like an obscene syntax for this, but I really like how terrible it is. Okay, so we're gonna say no style. So that's the no style option. That's pretty terrible. But I mean, I think that it's perfectly, at some point someone's gonna be like, this prop stuff has to stop. This is absolutely ridiculous. So we can't stand for no style. So we're gonna kill this. We rejected this, but this is rejected. Okay, we don't like that. So then we're gonna go to 5.5, which is we use delegation. Yay, delegation. Delegation's awesome. So in this case, we're going to say that we want, the APR we're gonna use is that we want to have the option of taking the default style in case we want to merge it on our own. But in this particular case, we're not going to. We just want it to be fuchsia. We don't want it to be display block. So in this case, we'll leave that empty. But on this side of things, how are we going to do that? I might need to start over. So we're going to have, let's see, some of our default styling. And let's see. So, oops. So if type of style, so if this equals a function, then we are going to call the function of style with our display block object, right? Otherwise, we're going to merge style onto the style attribute, and then also with default style or style default. I got something wrong. Expected token. So let me put these on different lines so I can kind of see what's going on. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool, perfect. Yes, so you can have both style and no style in this without having to have the additional props. So that's one of the cool things about delegation. And so what we can see is that we were able to, by providing it a function. So if we, and so just to kind of show this working, if we provide just a function, it's going to merge the style object in with the style default, which is this display block. However, if we want to opt out without having to, provide another prop, we can do so with delegation, and then, kind of have full control over that ourselves. But then if we want, we can, then kind of take that, default and then have also control on merging it. Uh, what I do here? Unexpected token. I did something wrong. Style. Oh, default. Duh. So these are the default styles. Can't use the keyword default. Okay, cool. So then we can kind of like reconstruct it, and we have full control over this. So if we were to, be merging this with another style object that we're importing somewhere else from our system, we could kind of do this beforehand, which would give us control over, kind of how we have strict control over how those properties get merged now. However, in this case, we have, again, I think because we use delegation, we have full control over this. And so this kind of feels like, I mean, again, we're just throwing technology and techniques and stuff at this all the time, but poof, we're almost at the point. I mean, I'd say that this was untenable a long time ago, but we're almost at the point where it's kind of like this is absurd. But you can see there's a lot of patterns here, right? So I think like kind of one of the things that we're at is places that we're at is like these are all very reasonable patterns, right? Like, so when you're like, oh, how do I solve this problem that's being presented to me in this card in isolation? These patterns are great, right? Like we're using the as prop, that's a recommended pattern, right? We're using delegation to like merge things together but still provide control to the consumer of our component. Like that's a win. Like all this stuff, these are good patterns, right? um but they're just kind of naively applied. um okay, cool. So I think that is, I feel like we kind of went through the gauntlet on that, for the most part. Okay, let's see if I missed anything. um Yeah, so style and object or the function. Yeah, so this is kind of competing mental models. So you can provide it as either. And so mixed type APIs are kind of confusing, right? However, this is, as far as I know, the only way, like, so using a function here for delegation is the only way to basically invert control of this so that you don't have to provide an additional prop like we saw with the no style thing. um, I'm definitely interested in other ideas, and I know that there's techniques that you can use if you have third-party libraries for starting styling this stuff. But you know, so it goes. Now, I think uh, someone, was it Martin? Was it you or Travis mentioning like a CSS and JS library, right? So there's a big problem here, right? Because like part of the source of truth is coming from style, right? And how do you transfer the knowledge that you would get from this style function into like, like a CSS prop? You can't. At least I don't think you can. Like you can't like jump the tracks with these props. Um, so let's see. So now I'm not necessarily going to jump into styled components, I don't think, but I do want to nod to the fact that like we might have another effort, like you know, uh, you know, styled components, emotion chakra effort, kind of sweeping our company. Um, Okay, so this effort is just like sweeping across the company. You know, what are we gonna do? Um, Now, right now, we kind of have to concede that this just, our component isn't designed to work with that. And so if we wanted to, if you wanted to use this with CSS and JS, you basically have to provide some kind of like no op here for the style. I guess, yeah. So you got to provide something like that to kind of like opt out of styling completely, so that you can do the whole thing with CSS and JS. Oh, thank you so much. Cool, cool, cool. Oh my gosh, we've already been doing this for an hour, over an hour. Woo-wee. Fun, fun, fun. Okay. Um, use Tailwind. Yeah, use Tailwind. Well, even so with Tailwind, it's okay. I'll be done in like 15 minutes or something like that. I'll be done in 15 minutes or so. I'm just streaming. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Families coming in. So yeah, so you could do this with Tailwind. Even so, kind of, unless you, so thinking about this as kind of like an isolated component, so you could jump in here and be like, okay, well, now this component knows about Tailwind, right? And so you just put, class on here. Um, Now you would still have to do similar, like you would kind of still have the same problem though, right? Because you have to merge all of those styles together. And now you have a component that is aware of Tailwind. So this becomes kind of like a system aware component. So like, you know, so yeah, so Tailwind, CSS is great. Um, Makes the component like globally aware. We still have to merge, but with class name. So yeah, I think that's great. I think that this, that's absolutely something that is an option. The challenge is that it's like this kind of like globally, it becomes a discussion, right? It's not just like, how do I change this component, or like, how do I modify this component, whatever. Now it's like the whole company is making some effort towards something, which we all know is very difficult. Takes a lot of time. So, okay, how else can we make this component kind of absurd before kind of admitting defeat? Okay, we got the no style in here. I think that I think we might be there. Um, so let's call up a sixth step, sixth sense. Um, Now this will probably, I think, be the last point at which the last thing that we'll add before just kind of asking the question of why was all this work necessary. And again, this is kind of, this is all in preparation for a talk that I am doing coming up at Reliable Web Summit. I think I'll post a link in there. Oop. Reliable Web Summit. It's coming up pretty soon. Link incoming. Sorry, I gotta do it off screen because I'm in full screen mode over here. Lessons learned. Okay, Reliable Web Summit. That's coming up August 26th and 27th, I think, maybe. Okay, so what do we have? So the next, so we have 5 here. I want to get in there. I want to copy all of this. Okay, so what's 6? Now 6, I feel like, again, so this is going to be like, so the uh, internationalization team um, wants to control the whole message. So in this particular case, we're going to have to change this up a little bit, and we'll say that, hey, now it's time to basically take children as an option. And the internationalization team has provided us with a function that we can import, which is, greet hello message, and then we just give it a name. Hakuna Matata. Now that I just typed that out, I get it. That's pretty great. I like that. Okay, so we're going to create. What is that? I don't want that. Hello message. And then for right now, we'll just write that function locally, but I'll probably prepare it elsewhere. Hello message, name, and then we're going to return some string. So this actually does all the work, right? Well, let's go back to our original string. I don't want to get in the weeds here. So hey, name, and then we'll just put some, punctuation there. Why is this not working? Unexpected token, function name. Gotta take that as, and then I guess we'll default this to guest. Why not? We should probably provide some type of default. Interesting. So, oh right, yeah. So our function doesn't take, or our component doesn't take children yet, and I've commented it out. So let's let me pull this up. Oof, this is getting messy. Okay, so we'll probably be done in pretty soon. We just got this one last kind of, we're just building up the problem today for this talk. Okay, so now we need to take children, right? It doesn't matter really where. Okay. Now, if we have children, in the event that we have children, we're going to just return the children. Otherwise, we're going to do this nonsense that we have below. And then we'll probably just kind of change this up a little bit to use a template string. Like that. Now, again, this is kind of in service of, we don't want to break the default. So even though we are planning on supporting children, we don't want to break the default. Okay. Man, a lot of work, a lot of work. Okay, so we don't want to break the default. We have the default, like everything should still work. So we should be able to use this API simultaneously in both ways now. So if we do that and we take all this out and we name is, let's see, who else have I not gotten in here? We haven't got real Zellion. I think I got that right. Okay. So now we can use it like this, right? And so punctuation equals, and we can just kind of use this like ridiculous API that we have. So style, we don't want the default, but we do want the color to, color to be blue for this one. So we have a lot of flexibility. Let's make it green. So we have a lot of flexibility here. And then, what else can we do? Oh, because this is, we can make this, what is it? As a span, or let's say in this case, it really is an H1. We can justify doing that. And then we can kind of, put some additional punctuation behind it. We have a lot of flexibility here. Okay, so now the question that I have, so this is the component that we built. This is kind of the result of kind of an organizational failing. The end of an organizational failing. And honestly, and maybe even a community failing. Um, so I want to say like community failing because why when you go to reactjs.org is this component the first one that you see, right? Because it really puts you on this track of like needing props, like kind of using props using props for everything, encapsulating the wrong stuff, using markup that isn't going to like actually like serve you in the long term. Like it's absolutely nonsensical when the whole time this component shouldn't have been a component at all, right? Like after all this work, we have this. Let's see. Let's go back to the. Okay, let's get back here. After all this work, we have like a ton of lines of component that are like absolutely ridiculous, and they still don't do ideally everything that we want. Like if we want to integrate with Tailwind, if we want to integrate it with some CSS and JS library, like it doesn't handle all this stuff super well. So it doesn't even do everything we want it to do. It does most of what we've needed it to do up to this point, but really like should our app not have just been this? I'm gonna write Taylor in here right now because we would have gotten that from props. And like, yeah, maybe it's repeated, maybe it's duplicated in a couple places, but like no one has to ask anyone for permission to change this to an H1. No one has to ask permission to make it so I can add this class name, display block inline. If I want to, put whatever styles I want to put on here, I don't have to text duration underline. I don't have to ask permission to do that. Once we get to the point of internationalizing this thing, hello. It happens super easily because we didn't go through the nonsense of like trying to make this a component before it should have been a component. Yeah. So that's kind of the result that we're going to get to. It's been an hour and 18 minutes. That's so wild. If you, I'm curious of the steps. So this is what we got to get to is just kind of like, saying like, why the hell did we do all that work? It's nonsense. But we did have to kind of like do the work to kind of demonstrate like, kind of the absurd things that happen, kind of build a little bit of a narrative of the, the teams that we might have. So we have, I guess, like just to, so we have, a design interest. We have some kind of like product, some manager interest. We have some maybe, accessibility interest, as well as, what was the other team that we had? Internationalization efforts. Okay. And yeah, I think that these teams, it's kind of interesting. It provides like an interesting kind of like actual like organizational pressure and like kind of like communication that's happening. And I think that's kind of a compelling part of this story is it's not just like me changing this thing for the things that I want. It's like me changing it with the interests of like the, the company and the other teams, etc. in mind. So I like this. I like these kind of like characters that we fleshed out. Um, Time flies when you're on stream. Ain't that the truth? Send hello message to hello message. Just recursive message sending. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like one of my takeaways, Ben, from your stream with Stephanie Eccles today was that 30 to 40-minute streams are not long enough. It's like an hour or bust. Let's see, component flexibility is superpower, but also dangerous thing to have around. Yep, I agree. Components are great and components are terrible as well. Um, so each one of those steps were not horrible steps in isolation. Yes, I agree. But it was never asked why we were doing it. Yeah, so I think that's probably the thing that I want to get to is that I want to have some, and I appreciate that feedback because I think that's what I want to that's the feeling that I want. I want to feel like, oh, like that's a reasonable request, right? And I'm doing my due diligence as a developer to make sure that I do it in a way that doesn't break expectations from somebody else, right? And that's why we ended up with this thing. Because none of those things were unreasonable in isolation. At least I don't think so. However, at no point did we ask the question like, why are we doing this at all? Right? And like I think it really kind of feels like we have so many teams involved in kind of providing a more streamlined effort when like we didn't need to go down that route. Um, Now I'm also curious, kind of like what counterpoints to this are, right? Now maybe the counterpoint is that componentization isn't particularly bad, right? That maybe we need a component, and the problem really the whole time is just that we didn't at the first change use children. Now I'm fine with that, right? Like I think that really probably the big takeaway from here is that like just use children. It's the most composable API that you have. There's no need to add extra props, right? Like at the end of the day, like sure have this component, but like these three should never exist. There's no need for them. So maybe that's a takeaway. Um, so let's see. So we'll call these the actors. But then also kind of like takeaways. Um, just use children and kind of what do we call these, like DOM adders, I guess, properties. um, other one is kind of like the question of like why did we do all this work? There is kind of just use children. There's a lot of things that we could, because we can. Yeah, I mean, like it's true, Martin. Like so much of it is like just like there's some type of like intellectual satisfaction that happens when it's like um I solved a hard problem instead of making a hard problem simple. Which is that's the thing that happens. Um, Yeah, it's the lack of constraints that kills developers. Yep, who should own the solution? Yeah, I mean that's a big problem. Like who owns this as a nugget of and I guess that's why like there's been a formation of like design team efforts or design systems managers lately. But again, that's not really their work either to like solve this feature for every part of the app, right? It's really more kind of like looking at the aggregate of what's already been done and then kind of developing that into something cohesive and usable. So they don't really own it either, right? Like it's a community it's a community problem. um yeah, again, and again, like I don't think we're exempt as a community of developers who have like continued to propagate this example, me included. I have literally like one of the first courses that I taught on React was showing how to build exactly this component. Like I am guilty AF, like just as much as everybody else, in propagating this idea that props are useful, and I maybe just don't think they are. um So, let's see. So so yeah, be expressive. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another point is that this is kind of what is it? One of the smells is this like one-to-one mapping. So what we noticed is that like we had to expose the as prop. We have to expose the control over punctuation and salutation and style. We're having to expose more and more to the point where like what does this thing even do? um it, what is it encapsulating, right? I guess that's the question. And the answer is, like, at this point, nothing. Like, it doesn't encapsulate anything, in which case, like, why do we even have a component for it? Yeah. Problem solving versus problem eliminating. It's funny. I heard there was a tweet the other day. I think it's from a book. The idea is that, like, oh, I can't copy and paste from here. It's not. Oh, I can. It was just slow. He says in his book, it's most problem solving is actually just like problem trading, which I really like. Hey, but Buzzlebee. Hey, so yeah, sorry. So this I can actually post. I think if I get out of full screen mode, I can post a link to the sandbox, and I can tell you right now. Basically, the idea here is, hey, what's up, the practical dev? We're just wrapping up right now. Actually, we've been live for almost an hour and a half. But basically, I am doing a talk. I think the link is up there a little bit before. I'm doing a talk at Reliable Web Summit coming up. I'm preparing that talk. And basically, this whole stream today was an exercise in taking. So the talk is titled the most expensive, the most expensive React component and how to stop making it. And so we take this component, which is kind of like just quintessential React component, and demonstrate why it is so terrible through a series of natural steps that might actually happen, and I have seen happen in development environments. And so the component just gets worse and worse and worse until we get to the point of, like, why did we even have a component at all? So that's kind of the crux of the talk. I posted the code sandbox if you want to read kind of some of the sloppy notes, but the notes are there. Yeah, and kind of like see how we get that. Otherwise, I'm going to be giving that talk on the 26th or the 27th. And let's see, what else? If you want to hang out with us, we have a Discord. A lot of people in chat right now are in that Discord. It's events.lunch.dev/discord. I always say Discord, and that is not right. Discord, and a lot. Thank you, Ben, for posting that link. A lot of great folks in there, and yeah. So that is going to wrap it up for today. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. If you are enjoying this kind of talk preparation content, you want to see a little bit more like behind the scenes stuff from me, go ahead and follow. This is brand new. I started this Twitch thing yesterday, and it really is for the purpose of just kind of having more casual, ongoing kind of like preparation stuff. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for being here. You're awesome. I'm Chantastic on Twitter, and I appreciate your time and attention. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter at Chantastic or in Discord, and I look forward to talking with you, hanging out with you, and learning from you. All right, peace, everybody. You're awesome. Thanks for being here. Bye.